talk a little bit about gold, silver, dollars, assets, digits, that kind of stuff. I know I've gone over this stuff before, but I think it's that important and essential, especially at this time when we are being pushed into a digital currency. I mean, it's digital. Most of the governments around the world are doing this, and it's a cashless society, basically, where they will control every aspect of your life, hands down. That's about it, unless you have means or a way to get around that. I'll touch on that just a little bit, but I just want to go into the fact of things you control, things you can touch, things you can hold. You control those things. They are yours. They're in your possession. Whether they're a temporary ownership, whether they are permanent ownership, whether they are to be determined, you have them at the time being. You are controlling them. You own them. Like I said, it depends on the status of the ownership level. But anyways, you own them, control them for the time being. And that's huge. You do not control things someone else holds for you, if you want to view it that way. If you want to view it that way as far as stuff in the bank, stuff in credit union, stuff in those kind of places, you're saying you put money in there, and you did. You did put some of your cash in there, or your digits. That became digits, I should say. Yes, you view that as yours, but the thing that passed in 2012 would sort of basically said the funds in your account are now considered theirs. And theirs is sort of like if you lend money to somebody. You lend money to a family member, or you lend money to a friend, or you lend money to anyone else. Whether you lend it for a certain time period, or if you are charging interest on that, whatever, you have lent them that money. And for the time being, whenever they have that money, as long as they have that, if you want to consider it money, as long as they have that you've lent to them, even if you lent them a vehicle, you lent them a truck to pick things up, to haul things, to move, whatever the case is, you've lent that item to them. When they have it, when they have that, the funds, when they have the vehicle, when they have whatever thing it is you lent to them, you loaned out to them, they have borrowed from you, whatever they do with it, you have no power of. You're not in control of that anymore. It could be a friendship, and you have lent them $1,000, and you had a time limit on there, and the friendship dissolved for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. You no longer talk to them. That money is as good as gone. That $1,000 is as good as gone. 9 times out of 10, probably even more than that. You have lent it to them. That once was yours. It wasn't your control. But since you did that, it was in their control. The relationship dissolved. It's no longer. You guys no longer talk, converse, or maybe, heaven forbid, he passed away, or she passed away, whatever the case was. That money's as good as gone, for the most part. Think of it that way. So the thing that was passed in 2012 says to consider those items that you have lent to the bank or the credit union, to the financial institution. Consider that a loan. You've lent that to them. You've left them to the financial institutions, and they're to do what they want with it. Period. That's that. And they view that as something on their ledger that's theirs now. Yes, they maybe have some sort of ledger or some sort of keep track of that they owe this to you, or you have this much there that they've lent to you. But that, in the full concept of it, it doesn't matter, especially in cases of like bankruptcy, or they disappear, they dissolve, or whatever else. You don't own that. So you want to fast forward or rewind or whatever on that same note. Cash versus digits. So you have cash. I'm going to grab just a little bit of cash here. You have cash. You have whatever we have here. A bunch of paper fiat currencies. All right? That's what we got here. You have cash. All right? Now, if you're going to purchase something for somebody, from a garage sale, somebody's selling something, tool, some sort of wardrobe, baby item, from a newborn, whatever the case is, a toy for your child that you want to buy, purchase. They were not going to accept digits from you. I mean, almost always they will not accept the digits you have in your bank or your credit union or whatever it is, whatever place you have it is. They're not going to accept those digits from you for the most part. There are rare cases, which I'm reading about, and I hear nowadays that they will accept a cryptocurrency type transaction, and that's a whole nother realm of things. I'm not going over that at all, but I'm just going over the digits in your account that you've lent to your financial institution versus this paper stuff. So if you want to buy a dresser, we'll say, they're not going to accept the digits. What you would have to do is you would have to go get cash from the institution, using an ATM, your debit card, credit card, whatever. You have to use that to pull out cash to pay for that dresser or whatever it is you're going to purchase or whatever service they're going to do for you. And that's the way it's been. That's how it is. There are cases where people will barter. I'll swap this motorized vehicle for this motorized vehicle, or this fishing gear for this hunting gear, or vice versa, whatever. That does happen, but it's not as common. So if you're holding this, you can go do with it right now what you want and not have to make the other steps to go to the cash machine. They're still working. They're still accepting that transaction for you to cash out for whatever reason. You pull a cash, then you go on your way to do your business. All right? We go cashless. That no longer exists. This no longer exists. And they say, well, no, you'll be able to give them your CBDC, your central bank digital currency, in their digital wallet or whatever, and then you can swap it that way. Oh, okay, that's their argument. Well, come down to that. What happens here, if a dresser costs $100, here's $100. I give this to the person, they give me the dresser. That's it. No one else is involved. There's no government involved. There's no IRS involved. No one else is involved in that. Come down to a digital currency. What's involved is you give them $100 worth of digital currency. Then that transaction now is a taxable event. And you have no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You cannot say, yeah, I have to pay tax on it, or I will pay tax on it, or I might not because it was for something else, or that it should be tax exempt, whatever the case is. Doesn't matter. You do that, you do that, they can take the tax out that they see fit for that period. Or if you're going to buy ammunition from somebody, or you're going to purchase something else that the government doesn't see is acceptable, they can freeze you out and not allow you to do that. For whatever reason. Doesn't matter. If they think, you're not watching your weight, you're overweight, you're diabetic, you have heart problems, you've been in and out, maybe you're on Medicare, maybe you're on whatever it is, they call government programs, you cannot eat at this restaurant, you cannot purchase these items, you cannot do these things or hang out at this venue. It won't work there for you. It might work there for other people, but it won't work there for you. That's the reality of what's coming down the pipeline. So I'm just saying this to try to get people to realize the having stuff, really means having stuff, holding stuff, touching stuff, owning stuff. Once you give that away to somebody, you might view it as yours. You might have purchased it through their deal, but it's not yours. For example, how about the cloud? Everyone puts their stuff on the cloud. Everyone puts their photos on the cloud. Not everyone, but a lot of people put their photos on the cloud. A lot of people put their videos on the cloud. A lot of people purchase digital music. A lot of people purchase digital movies from whatever streaming entity you want to name. They'll purchase it. Maybe they have 10, maybe they have hundreds of movies, videos they quote-unquote own, they've paid good money for that. Well, in reality, it's on someone else's hard drive. So you're saying you own these digital things that are on somebody else's hard drive. So if it's on somebody else's hard drive, somebody else owns it, somebody else controls it. So if something happens, or they just deem it doesn't fit with society anymore, it's offensive, you're no longer able to view that or listen to that or whatever, that's a possibility. You have no say about it because it's on somebody else's hard drive. Same with books, buying digital books. You maybe spend $10 on a digital book versus spending $15 on the paperback copy or the hardcover copy. It was cheaper, granted. You don't mind reading on your phone or your tablet, or you prefer reading on your phone or your tablet. Okay, all and well, whatever your preference is, that's fine. But think about it, that once you own this thing on somebody else's hard drive, somebody else's property, do you really own it? Do you really own it? Think about that. Do you own it? This is the same struggle I have with home ownership. Yeah, I own my home, but I always question it. I've questioned it for dozens of years. Do I own it? Do you really own it? Does someone really own it if you're constantly paying a yearly property tax on it and it continues to increase? And some places increases, threefold, tenfold, versus some places maybe it's stagnant, maybe it's still. Nonetheless, if you're paying a yearly property tax on that, and if you don't pay it, they're going to take it from you. Do you really own that? That's a struggle I have. Land ownership, that kind of stuff. So I'm saying this stuff to get people to think. Maybe they should stop using so much of their credit cards, so much of their debit cards. Maybe they want to start using more cash. I know I've said this a month, 2 months ago, video, but I really feel that's how we hold our power without it getting taken away from us. That's how we have a little bit of resistance there, where the powers that shouldn't be stop and say, hey, well, maybe they're not ready, or maybe we got to change something. Maybe we got to do this instead of going full force into this digital cashless society. So I'm just talking more cash here, the same cash. This is just another step, another level. Yeah, I think this stuff is paper, ink on paper. It's pretty junk in my opinion, for the most part. But the sad reality is this is what I have to pay my taxes with. This is what I have to pay any fees that the government might have, which are also a tax. Whatever. If you want to deal with the government, you got to use this, all right? For the most part. And this is what people recognize for wanting for, that dresser. They want cash. All right? Nothing wrong with that. For now, they'll turn around and do whatever they want with it right away. I hope, not just hold on to it, because right now, these are losing purchasing power. Yeah, the dollar might be up, but it's up versus other fiat currencies. That's, in my opinion, comparing turds to other turds. They're all turds. This might be a better turd than the rest of them, but still, it's still a turd. This is what the hard, labor that you've spent, I've spent, whatever, on. This is what they paid you in. It's my equivalent of turds that I call it. It's only good because other people accept it. It's only good because we're forced to pay government in this. But really, what I feel is happening, in other countries a lot faster than ours, ours being the United States, but I feel it's coming because there's going to be no way around it, no way around the system without. And some people are smartening up, and most of them aren't. I'm just leaving it at that. They're just going to get sucked in the system because it's all about their sports ball or what's on TV or their kids being in 15 outdoor activities, sports, games, dance, all this stuff, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. My opinion only, 1 or 2 is fine. 15, and then having homework on top of it, and then going to government schools on top of it is just, I feel it's just crude. It's just horrible, horrendous. I feel it's borderline abuse in some situations, some scenarios. Anyways, that's just me. I digress. So, anyways, back to this paper. This paper stuff, all right? You got this paper stuff that you've seen a lot. But then someone says, you know what? I don't want to accept this anymore. I'll just get this separated. I don't want to accept this anymore because it's losing value. I will sell you my service. I will sell you this item, $25 if that's the only case it is. But I want you to give me something of real value, not this paper stuff, not this ink, this garbage, because less and less people are starting to accept it because it's becoming worth less and less, soon to be worthless. Hyperinflation right around the corner. So what are you going to do? What can you do? Well, you can swap. You can trade tools for it. You can trade food for it. You can trade goods for it. You can trade something from your ability. You can trade some of your labor for it, whether that's computer-based, whether that's construction-based, or whatever it is. Or you can use some of the wealth that you've saved up. You can say, hey, you know what? Instead of $25, will you take one of these? Will you take one of these? That's a maple leaf, silver maple leaf, 1 ounce. And it fluctuates right now. A couple, maybe a week or 2 ago, it was 25, close to 26, and now I think it's right around 23. Anyways, it fluctuates because it's being held down, in my opinion. It should be a lot more. And if you see the real absolute value of this versus the paper currency out there, you'll lose your mind because it's so undervalued along with gold. So you could say, I'll give you that, or you could say, I'll give you this. This is just a generic silver round, buffalo. Try to get it in there. Maybe I should add to this maple leaf too. That's the maple leaf. All right. Or you also have the chance. You got this. You got your. If I can get in there so it's sort of clear. Maybe not. That's a little. This is your silver eagle. Why is that not focusing? Sorry, but anyways, nonetheless, you get the idea. So, sorry, I'm dropping this stuff. So, anyways, it's that's in my opinion, that's where it's going to be at. Timing, I have no idea. I mean, it feels like hyperinflation. It feels like we've started and we're in it. And if you see the inflation around the area, you absolutely know we're in the middle of something horrendous, and something that is not looking like it's going to slow down or settle down. And that's what happens. It ramps up, it starts going, and then overnight it just explodes. And that may or may not happen to this, because this is, it is the world's currency for the most part, and it always has been. But if you look at China and Russia and Brazil and other countries like that, they sort of turned their back on the US dollar and SWIFT and all that stuff and said, hey, we're going to do our own thing here. And they're trading for oil, using whatever they feel like trading for, and natural gas, using whatever they feel like trading for because of the sanctions. They're like, whatever, do what you want. We're going to do what we want. And that's what's happening. So whether it's an unintended consequence that has happened or was done by the federal government, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen, whether it was intended or not intended. That's what's here. That's what's happening. And maybe that's the camel that broke the straw that broke camel's back. Maybe that is the end all. Maybe that's the spot. Maybe that's the ugly duckling. Maybe that is the number one. That is the last snowflake for the avalanche. Maybe that is what causes it. Maybe that's what starts it, but not caused it. Maybe that's what starts it. might be blamed for the cause, but I don't know. Anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. So I want to say, think about this, and the main message I want to get across is think about, if you don't hold it, you can't touch it. It's not around you. You don't own it. That doesn't mean you can't have gold, a good amount of gold, or even a small amount of gold and silver locked up in a vault somewhere. You can, absolutely. You have rights to that. You have ownership to that. If you can walk to it or drive to it, even better. But if it's trusted, it's a private vault, private system, that's probably the best in my opinion. Stay away from banks. Stay away from those boxes that they have there. For the life of me, I cannot remember off the top of my head what that's called. But same with the other popular vaults that are used by banks and stuff. I would shy away from that. That's just my opinion. Safe deposit boxes, you would come to me. Anyways, so because that's in the bank. It's in this place that really doesn't care about you. You lend your money there. They really don't care about you. If you're not holding it, you're not owning it. And if you don't want to hold a bunch of cash, I agree with that 100%. A gentleman I was talking to, it must have been a year ago, just talking about money and finances and that kind of stuff. His comment to me was, the worst place to hold your money and hold your wealth, hold your funds, is in the bank. The worst place, he said, that's the worst place to put it. It's the worst place to have it. And he's all about owning land, owning, farm animals, owning farming, owning equipment. He does own some rentals, that kind of stuff. And you might say, well, he sounds like he's wealthy. Well, he may be, he may not be. He may, just be, doing what he can, the best that he can with this. He may not have, an IRA or 401k, that kind of stuff. That I do not care for myself either. Because once again, you're not holding it, you're not owning it. And on that, just a short little snippet on that whole 401k thing, I just read a story. I'll try to go into this in another video, a little deeper, that they are trying to pass some sort of legislation that says they're going to force businesses, small and large, to get all their employees to adapt and involved in a 401k, at least 3%. They're going to be invested at least 3%. Try to force that one way or another, whether it's sort of they get some sort of bonus, whatever it is. They want to get them involved at least 3% in the 401k. And my first reaction to that is, well, I've read nothing more on this. My speculation, I want to go to another video once I read a little more on this stuff, is because I feel, just me, I feel that they're going to want to get most people involved as the most they can involved in this, and then in the future they can say, hey, you know what? Let's give the businesses a break. It's a headache for them having to do this. Let's take it over. Government will take this over and we'll run it. It'll be great. We're going to run it better than the Social Security program. We're going to run it better than that. And we're going to prove that we have these things, that kind of stuff, because we didn't do that before. And we're going to hold on to it and we're going to take care of it for you. That's my fear. And then from there, you know what happens. Slowly but surely, they start taking more and more. They start taking more and more control. And all of a sudden, you're stuck in the system they're reliant on the government for even more. Because your 401k is now owned by the government. Not saying I read that. Just my hunch opinion on it. But anyways, I thank you for watching. If you like, hit the like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And as always, stay vigilant, protect yourself, protect your family, protect your health.